In Jiu-Jitsu, you are able to confront a person without punch and kick in a real-time combat.
Yes.
So for you to develop your confidence is much more effective.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Purpose Mindset. I'm your host, Dr. Wesley Northey. I have a very, very special guest today who I'm personally excited about. He's been an influence in my life more than he may even realize over the last couple of years. And he's a living legend. And I say that in no uncertain terms, without exaggeration. He truly is. In the world of jiu-jitsu, there are a few people that go back as far as this man does with the level of influence, the training, the beginning of the original roots of jiu-jitsu. And so he has a lot to share for us. Even those out there today, I was just sharing with him that there will be many of you that are unfamiliar with jiu-jitsu. So this should be a very exciting introduction to that world and how it might lift you up and encourage you and give you some new opportunities for life. So my guest today is none other than Master Caique, Carlos Caique Elias. Thank you for being here today, sir.
Oh, you're welcome, Wesley. It's a big pleasure to be here and to speak to your audience. I'm really excited about it. And talking about jiu-jitsu and lifestyle is always been something that really make me very, very excited about it.
Excellent. No, it's my honor, sir. It really is. It's a pleasure to have you here. So one of the things I wanted to mention to the audience here, just so they can understand sort of the background where you come from, and I'll give my take on it in a brief format. But Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was originated from Grand Master Helio Gracie, and that's where many people may know the term the Gracie family and Rickson Gracie. And this is where you started your journey in growing up in Brazil. And will you just share with some of our audience where that sort of started for you? I know it began at a young age, surfing with Rickson Gracie, and what that sort of looked like in the time of your life there, and how jiu-jitsu kind of introduced itself into your life and how that impacted you at an early age.
Well, I grew up in Rio de Janeiro, is a area there, the beach area, which is an area that's like at that time was more for families from medium to high income. All right, so we were surfers. Since I'm a little kid, I was surfing, and I think I started at the 12 years old or something like that, 13 years old. And so we were like in this area where we have access to a bunch of information, a bunch of educational stuff and things like that. And then we also have access to meet a lot of different people. And that's how I met the Gracies. I met the sons of Helio Gracie, mostly Helson, and because he liked to surf, and we start to surf together. We start to be close friends, and that who influenced me to start to do jiu-jitsu. And the thing is, for me, in terms of life change, there was a huge change, because at that time I was surfing. Surfers were considered like a marginal, a person away from the society, people that no good, and that was not true, because we all
troublemakers, the outcasts.
Yeah, we all going to school. We are just like a free people. We think freely. We like, So, but anyways, at that time I grew up also. It seemed like right now the problem is even worse with the drugs, with the criminality, a lot of things. So for a young man to get divide, to get his life change in a direction that was not good, was really easy. I think today is even worse than that. But so what happened is I decided to start to practice jiu-jitsu, and with the jiu-jitsu came not only the martial art itself, like the techniques, the training, the workout. It came a whole way of living. Eat health, be respectful to other people, practice your body to accept a hard workout, and measuring, like being a part of something that was a healthy lifestyle. So that was like, I never been like involved in heavy drugs and things like that, but the jiu-jitsu lifestyle, it put me in a place where I was like, okay, this is the life I want to live.
Yeah.
And changing my life for better in many different ways. I got a family. I start to finish my college, and I start to work, and like the lifestyle of eating healthy, go to sleep, and always being in the health side of the life was a huge change for me. And plus, at that time, I had the privilege to be in contact with the elders of the Grace family, which were Carlos and Helio, and learn a lot, right? Because you always, older people, they have something to teach you. So I learned a lot from them, and that was something that I still carry some the teaching today. So the biggest thing for me on jiu-jitsu was like the change of my personality in terms of confidence, in terms of, and when I say confidence, well, Wesley, it's important that people know it's not about confronting someone physically only. It's about I look at someone in the eyes and I say, I don't like your price. Can you lower the price? I'll buy. So,
Yeah.
that kind of thing, because I've been teaching people for so long, and I been meeting so many different people, There is people that look in your eyes, there are people don't look in your eyes, there is people that are afraid to be in a enclosed room, there is people that are not. So there is many different people, And the fact that jiu-jitsu gives you this confidence, because the close contact, the game, the ability for you to lose but learning from, win, and be satisfied, So their ability, it really changed the person. So when I talk about you look in the eyes of someone and say, oh, the president, a lot of people have blockage for that. For this particular example, there is many other examples of how you get shy or you get lacking confidence. So this was one of the biggest things for me, because you're not like afraid of something that is not going to happen, or there's something that's going to happen and you are prepared for,
Yes. Yeah.
So,
That's so good. I love you mentioned the risk for young people in particular, getting caught up in whether it's drugs or lifestyles that are disempowering for them and unhealthy. it's a real challenge right now across the world, for young people, younger generations, and adults alike, especially over the last few years of what so many people have been through, finding healthy resources, healthy activities to participate in. And one of the ways I've described to people that are unfamiliar with jujitsu, to the point that you were making about building self-confidence, is I've found that it helps you develop a great balance between humility and confidence. Because like you
Oh
said, you can go in and you can have someone that's much smaller in stature really put you in your place. And you have to be
yes,
willing
yes,
to leave your pride and to leave your ego and to take those moments of defeat as lessons and opportunities to learn and to grow. And it requires humility to do that. At the same time, when
yes,
you develop some skill and you feel good and you get a win, you certainly feel more confident about yourself. And so I love that there's that balance. And I should preface this by saying jujitsu is very new to me. I've only been practicing for a few years now, and I saw you just a couple weeks ago. Wonderful seminar. I was grateful to have a promotion to blue, which means I'm just getting started. I'm just starting to learn, but I love the application to real world life, like you're describing, because it requires that we look within ourselves. It's less about other martial art styles that require striking and escalating violence to prove something or defeat a situation, and more about our ability to maintain control and breath and discipline within
oh yeah.
ourselves.
And the part you talk about, you come in and a smaller guy can dominate you or can survive you, which a lot of times, because people are big, they think, oh, I'm gonna smash this guy, and then the reality is different.
Yeah.
This is great because it also showed that, oh, okay, so that is a different word right there, like where size is not that matters so much, you
Mm.
know and one thing that's interesting on jiu-jitsu also that apply to life is the fact that you come in to practice, and like I say at the seminar, that's a strategy that I always been using, is to put myself in a bad position. So I learned how to be comfortable there. I learned how to get out of there. So that thing it teach me in a real life too. Oh, I mean, I can be in a uncomfortable position, but I can make myself comfortable there and get out of there with the technique, with the
Yes.
a,
It's
a good approach.
mm,
So it teaches you a lot. Jiu-jitsu is a unique martial art for the way we practice.
mm.
So close to each other. You have this contact with another human being. It really changes the way you see things.
It absolutely does. When I first started, it was kind of by chance because I knew Professor Sean Pretat, whose school, the academy, were associated with your school. I knew him previously, and there was also a Krav Maga class at the time in the same building. And I took my
Mm-hmm.
eldest son, and we went to a Krav Maga class. And I told my son, I said, well, let's stay after and try out jujitsu. I don't really know what it involves or what's going on here, but I know Professor Sean.
Oh,
And
that's
so
great.
I
That's
said,
great.
let's just try it out and see. By the end of class, my son and I both were like, this is the greatest thing on earth. We want to do this forever. And just were
Oh, that's
immediately in
great.
love.
That's great.
But I had
Oh,
the personal challenge for many months after getting started of resorting back and defaulting to aggression and power and physical strength. I'm a tall person. I have physical strength available. So I would resort to wrestling style moves and getting out of positions just through pure strength. And I would get frustrated I would get very frustrated. And I realized several months in, I said, I'm doing this all wrong. My entire approach to what jujitsu is I'm coming from the wrong place. I have the wrong mindset. I have the wrong intention. And I started to
Mhm.
realize even the definition of jujitsu being the gentle art or the gentle way. I said, there's something else here that I haven't even started to experience yet. And
Yeah,
it
yeah,
it was it was when I began to kind of surrender to the moment. And like you said, you get into a position where you're very uncomfortable. And I had claustrophobia, so I'd get where I couldn't move well, and someone would be compressing, and I couldn't breathe well, and I'd get panicky and frantic, and just try to use my strength to get out. And there was one moment in particular, one of my mentors had me, and he had trapped my both my upper arms and was teaching me a lesson. He had me on the mat. I couldn't breathe
oh,
well, and I thought, let me just breathe. Let me close my eyes and collect myself right now. And
mhm.
I took the emotion, the anxiety down, and as soon as I did, I began to think clearly, and I could creatively problem solve. And I found, oh, well, I could move this hip. He didn't have that hip. And so I could move my leg now. And because I could begin to move out of the position, he had to take the pressure off of me. And
Yes,
I thought, like you said, so much of that happens in real life, whether it's in parenting or marriage or business or various challenges that we face where life is throwing something at us, and our reaction so often is to meet that conflict with force and aggression, and we get it wrong. But when we
yeah.
take the time to breathe, to collect ourselves, to to be calm, we can find creative solutions much more easily.
Oh yeah, and find the technique to get out of there. All right, with
Yeah,
with, with a much better outcome. So yeah, yeah, that's
yeah.
great. That's great. Yeah, Jiu-Jitsu really bring that to us is extremely beneficial for kids,
Mm,
as well for adults. But for the kids, is extremely educational. And
yes.
when we talk about this, how young people today and before were susceptible to go to the wrong direction, grow up and move to a wrong direction, which will maybe change their life forever. I think the kids today they are much more exposure to that. They not only by having these internet connections, which you suddenly find out, oh, your kid is talking to someone strange and, you know, becoming friends and start to believe on this person that he don't even see ever. And plus the other approach for criminality, there is a lot more appealing into the crime today than used to be when I grow up.
Mm,
So get the kids involved in jiu-jitsu, get the kids involved in an environment where they feel like it. Oh, I need to be fit. I need to be healthy. And
yes.
and get challenging over and over is something that has no price for. It's going to help him to the rest of their lives. I see that as
Absolutely.
an example of my two sons. They grow up like any normal kid, but that the jiu-jitsu kept them straight.
Mm.
So kept them thinking, oh, I gotta be on the good side of me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you mentioned just the values that it can instill also with respect and honor and integrity. And one of the things I wanted to share with you was when I got started in our academy, we have the Caique jujitsu gi, and I had a Caique sticker on my truck. And I thought this was early. I was so excited. And I thought, I don't know Master Caique though. I said, I'm representing him. And before
Uh-huh.
the first seminar that you were going to teach that I was able to attend, I was really eager to see who you were and to meet you. And I thought, you know, he could be anywhere on the spectrum. He might show up, and this man has so much history and he's a legend. He could do anything he wants, and he's earned it. But you came in and you demonstrated character. You demonstrated integrity and respect for every student. And as soon as I saw that, I thought I could wear this very proudly
Oh, good.
because
Thanks.
of who he
Good,
is
good,
as
sir.
a man. And
Uh-huh.
like you mentioned with young people, I think that's the greatest opportunity that they have with getting involved with jujitsu is more than just the mechanics, which is great, particularly in your discipline and your training focus on self-discipline in real-time scenarios. And it's great to have competitive training as well, and to be in the arena of competition. But for young people to have that opportunity to see, hey, this is a way of life and what it means to treat others with respect, particularly people that may not be as strong. Maybe they don't have the physical advantage, but we can develop skills to protect one another and build each other up. And you made several points in the seminars I've attended that you've taught where you've specifically said, hey, I want to educate and share it. And if I point something out, it's not to demean someone. It's not to break someone down. And that type of leadership, that type of training and instruction gives someone so much hope and courage and what's possible. You know,
Oh, that's great.
I think so many people right now, you know, like I mentioned, the challenges that we've all faced over the last few years, we've lost a lot of hope. We've lost a lot of courage and dreaming around what's possible. We're so discouraged. So many people are burned out right now. And so I just want to thank you for that, and honor you for
Oh, that's great.
demonstrating that.
That's great. That's great you saying that, Wesley. That's great. So, Wesley, I would like to share with you some thing that's very interesting also. You know these acai bowls that people eat today?
Of
Acai
course.
bowl?
Very popular. Yes,
They're
sir.
very popular, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. Because the history behind this is going back to the old to the elders of the Grace family, Carlos and Helio Gracie, mostly Carlos,
Mm,
because what happened is Carlos Gracie was the first one introduced to Jiu-Jitsu by a Japanese immigrant in Brazil, and he brought with him his brother Helio later, and Helio became like someone that really look up to Carlos and adore Carlos, but he became the fighter of the family at that time.
mm.
But Carlos Gracie, he uh, developed this way of living, uh, this, this, this diet. I call diet, maybe a diet, but in my view is like a way of living, a lifestyle. And he started to study these uh, foods, the nutrients, that what will be the best for us to eat and stay healthy and stay capable as an athlete or as a elder. So what will be good for everybody? So he found out the acai berries had a very high portion of nutrients that was very strong and very good for us.
Yeah.
So acai only grows in the Amazon in Brazil.
I didn't
There
know
is
that.
nowhere in the world that thing grows. Maybe now, if there is some in Africa or somewhere else, it's because they brought there. But originally, it's only from the Amazon.
Wow.
So there was a food for the poor people They mix that with flour. They make like a mixture, and they were eating that because they didn't have too much to eat. So they eat that with a manioc flour or any other flour that will give them sustained and keep them full for a while, right? So Helio Gracie or Carlos Gracie found out that there was a rich kind of food, and he introduced that to the diet, to the Gracie diet, and so we get into jiu-jitsu. We start to learn about this lifestyle. We start look. These two men was in a very vanguard of that time. They were so much more advanced than the time they lived.
Yeah.
You know,
In a lot of ways.
because,
in a lot of
because
ways.
at that time nobody think about this stuff, diet, and a martial art style that's kind of more efficient than any other style, and all these kind of things. So he introduced that to the diet, and because jiu-jitsu at that time was for a very small group, we are a small group compared to the population. Compared to the population in the world, we were like a little thing. Oh, only these people know jiu-jitsu. Like a very small group, like incredible small. Yeah, so for you to have an idea, was in one city only. And
it's hard to imagine now.
Couple other cities have this, have jiu-jitsu, but in a very, very small scale. So was at that time an elite sport, elite martial art, I don't like to call jiu-jitsu a sport. I like to call jiu-jitsu martial art because that's what it is. Was made for self-defense. So anyways, we start to eat that, and we eat acai bowl, we eat many other different things. And once we came to the United States and the UFC was introduced to the public and showing how jiu-jitsu was effective, people start to, jiu-jitsu start to have more practitioners and more practitioners. Then you start to have, what the guys eat, how you guys eat, and you start the acai thing. That's how today acai is so popular, because came from the Carlos Gracie diet.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
It's not for the poor person anymore. Now it's like $30 for a bowl.
Yeah. It's incredible. And also another thing too, is hard for you to find a good one because most of them are mixed, and it's difficult. I get mine direct from the Amazon, so
Really?
it's the pure pulp, and I made in my house, and I make in my house, and so.
I love a good acai bowl, sir, and I think you just sold me on eating a lot more of them now.
Yeah. And one interesting story, Wesley, is that we used to run tournaments. Once a year, we run a tournament. That's one aspect that's is important in jiu-jitsu too. In jiu-jitsu, you are able to confront a person without punch and kick. Yes. In a real-time combat. So if you do a different martial art, okay, Muay Thai, karate, boxing, whatever, for you to live that in a reality, you're going to have to get hit. Mm-hmm. Or you're going to have to hit. So then becoming more problematic in terms of injuries, in terms of,
Yes.
But in jiu-jitsu, you can go full force. And, it's like without the punch and without the kick, right?
Yes.
So for you to develop your confidence is much more effective. Mm-hmm. And facing an opponent without to have the punch is build your confidence on the right way, you know?
Mhm.
So you can confront, like I told you before, the fact you look people in the eye, the fact you say, oh, I don't like your price, and things like that. Because you start to be comfortable with another human being in combat with you.
It's so true. It puts other
No,
things in perspective.
yeah,
When
he's
you
in a combat with you, but that is not an angry combat. That is not something that you are afraid of. That is not something that you need to be like in a concern. So that develop you a confidence to talk to anybody, to do anything with anybody, you know?
Yes,
So
sir.
yeah, back to what I say, you can have the experience in a tournament or you can have the experience inside the academy, you know, training. So you're always in combat with, you always in front to someone and in touch with another human being in a kind of dispute that build your confidence. So this guy used to go to the tournament we have with a little cart to sell acais, you know?
Oh,
And I look at that and I say, oh, he's selling acai. He asked me to put the boot there, right? And I say, oh, this might be a good business. So
yeah,
maybe I should introduce this here too. So I
yeah.
talked to some friends in Brazil. Nobody moves and stuff. Today, this guy have a plant in Brazil, Wesley. A big plant processing acai and exporting to the US, you
He
know?
figured it out.
Yeah,
He saw the great opportunity there.
that's and you know what to make me feel good about it? I'm proud of him. I'm
Yeah.
proud of him. I'm happy for him. There was an opportunity that I saw that I could, if I have a little bit of help from the guys I talk in Brazil, you know, I should have talked to a poor person in Brazil because I talk to guys there that have money
Oh
and
yeah.
nobody moves. But if I talk to someone poor, for sure they'll be moving, you know? Yeah. So,
That's true.
anyways,
Oh, I'm
yeah,
happy for him too. And he's doing a good thing. He's doing a good service for a lot of
yeah,
people
yeah,
by sharing
yeah,
more of that.
yeah.
You were oh no, go ahead.
So was it that lead me to another conversation, if you
Hmm.
permit,
Yes, sir.
if you allow me to.
Of course.
Okay, how the athletes, the jiu-jitsu practitioners start to show up everywhere in Brazil. All these guys, and then the guys that go to MMA too. All these guys winning and doing these great fights and stuff. All of them, almost all of them, belonging to a low-income family.
Hmm.
You know, guys that were thirsty to do something for their lives that could take them to a different stage.
Yes.
So you talk about the basketball here in America, football, you know,
Hmm.
and actually my son told me that soccer is not a sport that's being accessible to low-income families. That's what he told me. In the low-income areas, seem like there is no leagues.
In
So
America?
yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know about it, but that's what he told me. Because the fact is this: you give access to people with low income, and many times they are angry, they are hungry to
Mm.
make it, they are hungry to do
Oh
it,
yeah.
they are hungry
Yes.
to, you know what I mean? So
Yes.
one thing that we are doing and we are very proud of, we partner with the different schools in different areas, you know,
Okay.
that the school sponsor the students to do jiu-jitsu.
Really?
That way, yeah, that way, because jiu-jitsu is not cheap, but we don't want a jiu-jitsu to be accessible only for people that have high income, you know what I mean?
Well
So yeah,
done. Well done making that
so
arrangement.
that is one good opportunity for everybody that have schools and everybody that have uh, any sport activity to connect with some of the schools, and the school sponsor the students, you know.
Oh
So
my
that way,
goodness.
of course, we all live in a capitalist world. We need income for us to keep it going,
Of
right?
course, of course.
But when we pad up, we are able to give more to the ones that are in need. So that's something.
Wow. I love that so much. So is that within you're in California? Is that
Yeah, I'm in
within
California.
the local school system where you are, or have you spread
Yeah,
to
the
other
local
states or
some of the local schools, some of the local charter school, some of the schools that are in different areas. They promote that they pair up with us and they promote that to the students. You know,
incredible?
so
I
yeah.
love that. It should be as well known as many of the other sports, you know.
Oh yeah.
I've joked with people saying what is the greatest sport? And when you think about any sport in the world, what can it escalate into eventually? Any sport, if it gets out of hand, they always turn to fighting.
Oh yeah.
That's why
Oh
I
yeah.
say it's the
That's
ultimate
no
sport.
doubt about it. No doubt about it. You know,
It's the
you can
ultimate
you
sport.
can even you can even play chess and get mad on the other player. Throw the,
That's start flipping tables.
you know, throw the yeah. So that is a lot of ways that you might be facing a confrontation, right?
Yes. To give the audience a little bit more background, I wanted to share also, I don't think that I mentioned, but you were describing Helio Gracie and how so much originated from him, his brother Carlos. I wanted to share with the audience that Master Caique here is one of only a few outside of the Gracie family that was given his black belt by Helio. And then you have a coral belt currently from Master Rickson. And if those of you out there aren't familiar, Master Rickson is, I've heard you describe him, sir, as the greatest fighter that you've known. And he has tremendous influence. And so that's a little bit of that background. But I know it was a big transition for you to go from training with them in that small group that you described to moving to the US. And you mentioned also the UFC. You know, what was that time in your life like, making that decision to come to America, to kind of have this new opportunity? UFC certainly was changing the world of jiu-jitsu at the time, and how many people, like you described, were expressing interest and wanting to sign up. But you had previously been a cattleman, and you were happy in Brazil. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's a big
Okay,
change.
so yeah, so well, what happened is like I say to you, I was introduced to jiu-jitsu from Helson Gracie. We were very close friends at that time. And from there, I started to be really close to Helio Gracie too. I believe it because I was one of the uh, better friends that Helson have, you know,
Mm.
probably the better one. And I Helio Gracie developed a sympathy for me. You know, he was like we became close, you know. And at that time, I trained with the Helson. Helson moved out to United States, and I went to train. I went to practice jiu-jitsu at the Helio Gracie's Academy in the downtown of Rio de Janeiro, where it was only him and Rickson. And there was few people there, so I have the privilege to train with the Rickson like several times with the like one-on-one, you know, training, and a couple other guys only. So was a great time for me. And from my purple belt to black belt, that's what I trained. And I was awarded the black belt at the Helio Gracie Gracie Academy. And I I kept training there for a long time. And I start to like having my own family, and I start to have to also make my own income and provide to my family and all that kind of stuff, right? At that time, there was not too many women opportunities. Like women didn't have too many jobs, and was mostly in Brazil, was more difficult for them to achieve any professional career that was really reward for them, which I'm very happy today. We see so many women doing things that are like not only equal to us, but sometimes better to men than men,
Yeah.
So it's great. It's great, and I fully support that. So I have to work, and I start to work, and I learned one thing in Brazil. At that time, I wanted to be like a multitask guy. So I have one export company. I have a ranch, cattle ranch,
Wow.
and I have one jiu-jitsu school. So yeah, that was really like I go everywhere. The cattle ranch idea was belonging from my mother's family. My grandfather was a rancher, and the export company was just things that I start to like do it. And the jiu-jitsu was something on me, right?
Mm.
So I started to like have all these activities, and I kept it going and raising my kids and providing to my family. And then at certain point, that happened, which is like something that's unfortunately, but I got divorced. And when that happened, the UFC was like starting here in the US. So Helio Gracie invited me to come here to help because Royce Gracie was like busy preparing himself. So they need help from someone that were reliable, they can trust, right?
Yeah.
So and because I for many years I was the best guy at his school, at the Academy Gracie there. So and it was close to him too. So he invited me to come in here, and I came in for 2 weeks, but I like it, and I say, oh, I want to stay here. So
Yeah.
then I stayed. At that time we were teaching a lot of law enforcement and government agencies. So it was very easy for me to get my papers work
Mm-hmm.
without to get married, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so I got my papers due to my profession, and actually they gave him my papers in a very like quick time, because at that time the US saw the value of jiu-jitsu, and they say, oh, we better keep these guys here.
It got popular fast.
Yeah, and they
Yeah.
saw the effectiveness in terms of law enforcement and all this kind of stuff. So that was easy for me to stay, and I brought my sons to live with me. And I actually is a interesting aspect, Wesley. When someone asked me another day, say, what made you stay here? Because seemed like you had a stable life in Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, I thought about for a second, I say law and order.
Wow.
And
Wow.
that was exactly what kept me in the United States, was law and order, which Brazil lack a lot.
Yeah. Incredible.
And that's what I stay. And I work with the Helio Gracie, the creator of the UFC. We worked together for almost 5 years, and then after for a while, everybody start to go to their own direction, and we still all talk to each other.
And at that point, you opened your own after spending time there. I wanted to ask you about that because you having your experience as a businessman. I want to be respectful of your time. Also, I have a couple questions I wanted to get
No,
in.
you can go ahead, Wesley. You're fine.
So, as a business person, because I know some folks in the audience are entrepreneurs, executives, business owners themselves, what are some of the principles that you've learned by having the lifestyle of jiu-jitsu and also being in the world of business, principles that you were able to apply your values, integrity, strength, honor, these things into business? What advice would you give around someone like myself, as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, the basic thing, I think the basic thing is be able to transmit to people that you are reliable, you are honest, and you are someone that's going to do what you say. So that's a basic idea of how you build it up your reputation, and you can have a successful career or successful business. But also there is something, I don't remember who said that. If it was, I don't remember who said this right now, but this is a quote that I love it. And the guy says, seem like the more work, the more lucky I have.
Yeah.
So I don't believe in luck. I believe in what you do for yourself and for others.
Yes.
So luck is something that, we name it to reward someone that's not you. So I don't believe in luck. I believe in okay, I accomplished this. I thank you, this person, for helping me. I thank you, this person, for being supportive. So that's what I believe. So I believe also if you work hard, and mostly in America, if you work hard, you will accomplish what you're looking for.
Yes.
And I usually I say that to some people, Wesley, that people sometimes talk about, oh, loser, and say, oh, loser. And the idea of a loser, for me, is that you do nothing for yourself and you do nothing for somebody else. All right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Because I cannot call the guy that sweeping the street a loser. He's a hard worker. He's doing the job that important for the community. He's far away from being a loser. The guy who do the gardening, the guy who does the garbage, the guy who does the. It doesn't matter how much income you have. It's how much you do for yourself, for your community. All right.
Yes, sir.
And and that's what I say to people. I say, if you want to be a worldwide recognized loser, you just be a loser in the United States. Because you're going to get a certificate like, I do nothing for myself and I do nothing for anybody else,
Right.
So yeah,
that's so funny.
it's a way I see these things. So
but I completely agree. We put too much emphasis on net worth of people, and we forget that the true value of the human person is worth so much more than we all have the opportunity to contribute and to serve others and to make a difference, whether it's locally in our small communities, and that creates a ripple effect and that expands out. The name of this show is Purpose Mindset. And I really believe that our sense of purpose and meaning begins with our mindset and our willingness to serve a greater purpose outside of ourselves. And one of the last questions I want to ask you, sir, is if someone came to you, if they had the opportunity to visit with you and they were currently searching for greater purpose in life, they've had a hard time maybe over the last couple of years and maybe jumped around with some careers or had some family difficulties and things, and they're just looking for purpose. What advice would you be willing to share with them around meaning and discovering purpose in life?
Well, I think the main thing we are looking for is to do something that we love and do something that will be creating some accomplishment for us, right? But I think you can get a lot of rewards if you start to do things for other people. You know,
Yes.
when you are in a hard position, when you are in a struggling without to find ways of life, ways of doing something that you love or doing something that you feel good about it, do something for somebody else. Helping people.
Yes.
Go and start to like take other people out of their struggle, take other people out of their difficulties, and help it out to the community. I think it's the best way for you to find your way in life and find your way to be out of this hole that maybe sometimes we put ourselves.
Yes. Well, I have to thank you. I think you're the example of that. I'm one of your students, and you do that. You do that. You set that example, and you live that. I know that you do. You live by the code of honor and integrity and serving others, and it's very apparent with who you are, sir. So thank you so much for
Oh,
your
thank
time
you.
today, for the work that you do, for the difference that you've made, both directly in the world and community of jiu-jitsu, but outside of it. Like I said when we were starting at the top here, that I think this is a nice introduction for a lot of people who may be previously unfamiliar with it, but there's so much there beyond just the surface of what jiu-jitsu is. And I'm very, very grateful for you, sir. And again, being a shining example of the core values and the principles of the art of jiu-jitsu. And before I let you go, though, I do have to ask one last thing. If you've, California is crazy right now. So I know you've been here to Northwest Arkansas, and you were previously a cattleman. So I don't know if it's ever crossed your mind to maybe consider moving this way sometime.
Well, that's a good question. When I go there and I look at the fields, I
Yeah,
look at the farms and I look at that land and I say, man, this is a nice place for me to
it's a
live.
beautiful place. It's a good place.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing, because I grew up in California, and as a young person, I moved here in my early teens, but I always told my wife, I said, this area has everything, but we don't have the beach. We don't have the coast. We have beautiful lakes, we have beautiful rivers. And what happened recently, a couple of years ago, I have some friends, they got a boat. We have a very, very large lake nearby. They got a boat that you can surf with. So not
Oh,
not
that's
like
great.
wakeboarding. You can hold onto the rope until you get on the board, an actual surfboard, and it creates a large enough wake that you can let go of the rope and you can surf. And I told her, now that I can start surfing, I think we've got just about everything now. So maybe that's
That's
more of a
great. That's great.
so that's
Whoa,
one more
that's
thing to
great.
consider. In addition to the fields and the beauty that we have here, you could
Yeah,
even surf
yeah, yeah.
if you came out here.
I
So.
think I think a lot of the appealing to live in California is about the weather,
Mhm.
and maybe the opportunity for jobs too. I'm not sure about that because I don't have the statistic, but I think what people have the biggest sorry about that, have the biggest appeal is to for the weather,
Mm-hmm.
because uh, um, beside that, there is like a lot of regulations. You know,
Yeah.
you
I
got
think
regulate for everything. So
yeah.
you know,
I think
hey,
what we have to offer can beat that because we still get all 4 seasons. So in any case, even if you don't move here, I look forward to visiting with you again, sir, in person. I thank you again
yeah,
so much for taking your time. I wish you all, you and your family, nothing but the very best. And for our audience here, where can they learn more about Caique Jiu Jitsu? Should they go to your website, social media?
yeah.
Where should they find more?
Go to our website is cjjusa.com. C as a Carlos.
cjjusa.com.
Yes, yes.
Perfect.
Wesley, thanks for the opportunity, and thank you also for the exercise you done with me over there. I haven't feel my back anymore. You know, I
Oh, I was gonna ask. I'm not kidding about being a personal physical therapist for you now. So I'm very grateful to hear. So the back pain is improved.
yeah, improve a lot. I haven't feel the back pain anymore. That was kind of really something that really bothered me for a while, you know. So I
Excellent.
haven't feel the pain anymore. I keep doing that wheel thing, and
Good.
I keep pushing the knees together. Then I pull the knees out, you know.
Very
So
good. Excellent. Hey,
so I
we're gonna
try.
add decades more of your jujitsu practicing life by doing these simple exercises. So
Yeah. So I try to age in a healthy way, you know.
yes, sir.
So
You're a
yeah.
good
So
example for me.
I tell people. Sometimes I make a joke with people. I say, "Oh, I have this disease that have no cure, you know, and is deteriorating my body, but it is not non-reversible. The doctors, everybody I ask, they say, "Oh, this cannot be reversed. It's like a disease that gonna carry with you." And the disease called AGE. So I tell people, "Oh, yeah, I have this disease, AGE," and people like, "Oh, I never heard about it."
AG.
I say, oh, yeah, you never heard about it, right? Yeah, but yeah, that's really terrible.
I think I got infected recently,
I
actually,
have
with
to,
AG.
I have to live with that. It's pretty funny. So yeah, it's
There's
funny to
no
see how
cure.
people react, and then they realize, oh, age.
It's coming for us all. Well, thank you
uh,
so much again, sir. Truly grateful for you, and we'll talk again hopefully very soon. Don't hesitate anytime if I could give any more direction with exercises. And
all
I thank
right.
all the people here in the audience. Thank you for taking your time. Go ahead and go back to cjjusa.com. Look up Master Caique. Read more about him. This man is truly a legend, and we're grateful to have his time here. And everyone, always remember to serve with humility, lead with confidence, and live with purpose, everyone. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.